everyone, it's Julia. I received the most adorable little doll outfit. Someone at the flea market who also has a little shop there gifted this to me. It's older and it's handmade and has this cute little anchor on it. And she also gave me a couple of squares of fabric. And it just kind of all went together so well. And I thought this would make a wonderful little quilted wall hanging for a child's room. I also have that piece of scrap there. It's like a very small floral print that I'm going to use. And these little wooden hangers that I picked up at a yard sale, I had a whole package of them. I wanted to try to hang the whole wall hanging with that little hanger. Had to do some squaring up first. These weren't quite even. And this is how I'm going to lay it out. It's going to be long and skinny, and I added a piece of that little floral print in there too, just to make it a little bit off-centered and a little bit longer. I have those all sewn together now how I wanted, and you can see there that I have my sandwich made, and you can see that fleece hanging out, that batting hanging out a little bit, and I also have the backing on there. The backing is that little floral print. I'm just drawing an X with my water-soluble pen. I'm going to take this to the sewing machine and I'm going to quilt just a diamond shape or little X's or whatever you want to call it on this blue piece only. I have my even feed dog on. Now this foot just helps feed everything, especially if you have layers, feed everything more evenly. And then that little gauge there, I dropped down and it's just gonna go alongside that stitched line just to make my lines even. And I'm just gonna continue with this all the way down on the blue piece, and then I'm gonna go the opposite direction as well. And you can see it there, and I messed up. You can tell it's a little wonky. I should have altered my directions when I sewed this. I did it all in one direction, and so I had to pull it a little bit. Yeah, don't do what I did. It just, I'm a kind of a beginner quilter, and that is definitely one of those little beginner mistakes. But I made it work. I just did some more trimming on it. And this little outfit's going to be right there on that blue piece. I'm going to hand stitch that on while I'm stitching my binding. My binding is next, and I didn't have a lot of this fabric left, but I made it do. I did 2.5 inch strips, and then of course you miter my strips just by putting the wrong sides together in an L shape. I'm going to link a video down below where I go through an easy binding method. It's quick on here, and I did mess up a few times, and you don't have to watch all my messes. So I will link that other video. I do cut my binding at least 10 inches longer than I need. And I leave a tail and start on the side of my little quilt. I'm taking a 1/4 inch seam allowance here, and again I do have that tail that I left. And then when I get to the corners, I'm going to stop a 1/4 inch before I get to the corner, and then put my needle down and then pivot and go all the way off the edge. And again, the video that I link is going to go through this as well, so you can see it a little bit better. And then just kind of finger press that down, fold it over, and this gives you just a really nice mitered corner. I do go a few back stitches just to get that that seam very secured in the corners, and then do the same thing on all my corners. I just go through one more of them here where I pivot, go off the edge, and then finger press that down, and then bring the other top over. And then again, when I stop this, I'm going to leave an opening, and you'll see it in this next step. And you'll see I'll get easy, wonderful little mitered corners. Now I'll be hand stitching on the back side. But here I've got these tails and this opening. You lay the top one over the top of the bottom, and you cut it at the same as the width of your binding. And my binding was 2.5 inches, so I want to overlap this 2.5 inches. I'm just going to take my ruler and mark that. And you just snip that top piece of binding then at that 2.5 inch mark. So it's overlapped 2.5 inches. Then I'm just going to snip that off. And then you miter this the same way as you mitered the other binding, just by laying it in an L and stitching that. And again, that is all in the other video, goes over that a little bit better. Now onto the hanger. I'm using this very, very old awl. This was my mom's, and I grew up with this little awl, and it's sharp enough to poke through this really soft wood. I think I don't know, it's a very soft wood on these hangers, so that worked really well. And I'm just going to hang that, and you'll see how I did that. That's an easy way to put that onto a little quilt. But I also have this this stamp with this saying that says, "Hope anchors the soul," which is a verse in Hebrews. I'll link this set down below for you. I don't know if it's still available, but it's from May Made It, and I used to get a subscription, a monthly subscription to her stamps. So much fun, and that was a good way for me to just kind of grow my collection. And I'm using my waterproof ink, and the first impression was terrible, and so I'm going to stamp it off on this piece of paper first, and then I just flipped over that piece of fabric. This is just a natural colored muslin that I'm using to stamp on, and I'm using the archival ink, which is waterproof, and that impression I'm very happy with. And there you can see it's May Made It, and again, I'll link her website down below. I'm pretty sure you can still get on her subscription, and this one still may be available. Just evening that up. I decided I'm going to hand stitch that little saying on with just some embroidery floss. I've got a lot of hand stitching here because I'll hand stitch the binding. I'm going to just whip stitch this little outfit on and then do that little saying on as well. And I found this light pink embroidery floss that I'm going to use for hanging it and also for that little saying. Wanted to decorate this little hanger a little bit more, and so I'm going to just run, I have this circle die cut. It's a 2.5 inch die cut, so this is going to make a very small yo-yo, and I had a little bit of that fabric left over, that mini print, and so I'm going to just do a little yo-yo just by folding it under and then just doing a running stitch all the way around this little circle. And then once I have my stitching all the way around, just going to draw that up. These little ones are so fiddly but so cute. I'm just going to kind of get the fabric out, and then I just take my thread to the back and I'm just going to tie a knot on the back of this. I'm going to glue it onto this hanger so that knot won't show. Just going to bring it through and, like I said, tie a little knot. I'm using my Fabric Fusion glue just to secure this. And I dropped it. And here it is complete. I'm going to show you some pictures too at the end so you can see how I've hung that and here's what the back looks like. Turned out so sweet. I hope you enjoyed this, everybody. Have a great day. Bye for now.